Welcome to Live Daf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem, welcome back. Today's Daf is MOED KATAN Daf Gimel. We begin right on top of the Amid. Yesterday we left off with a kasha. The Mishnah allows watering a field on Shemitah. Isn't that a malacha? The Gemara in the second teretz tells us, no, in Torah only Avos Asa Rachmana, top of Gimel and Aleph, told us, like Asa Rachmana. Watering is considered a telad, Rashi explains. We don't find watering in the Mishkan. And the Mishkan sets the tone. It establishes the benchmark to what is or what is not considered a malacha. Planting, etc., that's considered an av malacha, primary form of working your field. That's asur on Shemitah. But secondary types of work, such as watering, that's not asur min Torah, only mid'Rabbanan. And of course, as we find in many instances, Chacham did not apply their isurim in a makom of hefsid, where one can incur a potential financial loss. And therefore the Mishnah allows us to water the Beis HaShlach in this desperately dry field on Shemitah. Continues the Gemara. We actually find in the Pasuk that teiladas are not asur min Torah. Let's take a close look at the Pasuk in Parshas Bahar. Ubashana Shvius, on year 7, Shabbos Niyal Aretz, land is meant to rest. Sadchalei Sizra, the Pasuk continues. I'll just read the rest of the Pasuk. Sadchalei Sizra, V'karmachalei Sizmar. Don't plant your field, don't prune your vineyard, which is really another variation of planting, because pruning is meant to activate, is meant to enhance the growth process. The Pasuk continues. Eis sviach k'tzirchalei siktzar. Don't harvest your grain. Ves inveni zerechalei sivtzar, nor should you harvest your grapes. So the Pasuk is essentially repeating itself. Don't plant, and then don't prune, which is another form, another variation of planting. Don't harvest your grain, and don't pick your grapes. Why that repetition? Michti, let's take a close look. Zmira b'chlal zriya. Really, pruning your vineyard is just another form, another variation of planting. It's already included in that issur. Likewise, u'b'tzira b'chlal. K'tzira isn't plucking grapes, included in harvesting your grain. L'mai hilchasa kasvin rachmana. Why would the Torah have to repeat itself? L'memra, to teach you. Da'ahani teladus machrayev. The issur of Shemitah in Torah only applies to these forms of work, these forms of secondary activities. Plucking grapes, which is like harvesting grain. Pruning your vines, like planting. Achra naisel and mechayev. There's no issur on other forms of secondary work, such as watering your field. It's only mid'Rabbanan, and is mutar in a makom of hefs. V'loi, really? Nothing else is included. Min Torah v'atani. You have a brayso which is full of examples of secondary forms of work. Toilades, which seem to be asur min Torah. Sadchalei Sizra, v'karmachalei Sizmar. Don't plant, don't prune. Ein li ela zirua v'zimar. This only includes planting or pruning. What about other forms of work? Minayin lenichush, weeding, uli ider, loosening the earth underneath your vines, uli kisuach, chopping off grass to clear the area. Talmud leima sadchalei v'karmachalei. Rashi explains. I could have said lo sizra sadcha, lo sizmar karmacha. Instead it says sadcha loy sizra, karmacha loy sizmar. We learn no working in the field, period. Loy kol malacha shebesadcha. Any malacha in the sada is off. V'loy kol malacha shebekarmacha. Likewise, any form of work in your vineyard is asur. Minayin shemekarsmin. How do we know that you can't trim, you can't prune your trees? V'mezarden. Back to the trees. A tree was overloaded with extra branches. You can't relieve its load. V'mefask, nor can you support be'ilan. A tree that's leaning over, support it, keep it upright. Talmud leimar, again, the same drasha, sadcha loy, karmacha loy, loy kol malacha shebesadcha. Don't do any work in your field, v'loy kol malacha shebekarmacha, nor any work in your vineyard. Minayin shemezablan. How do we know that we can't add fertilizer? V'mefarkin. Remove stones sitting over the tree roots. In ma'avkin. You can't cover the roots with dust. Nor can you smoke the tree to remove the worms or ants. The same drasha, Talmud Loimar, Sod Chaloi Karma Chaloi. Kol Malacha Shebasad Chaloi, V'Kol Malacha Shebekarma Chaloi. What about the following list? Yachaloi Kashkesh Tachas Azes. What about loosening the earth underneath your olives? V'lo Ya'ada Tachas Akfanim. Some Rishonim take this out, because we already said that either is us. V'lo Yimala Nekoy Mayim. What about filling up some cracks with water? This is something they did to keep the tree growing. What about digging those irrigation circles, those ditches beneath that vine? That's mutter. Why? Look, the Torah already starts with an introduction, which seems to cover it all. Let the field rest. Why does the Torah have to single out planting? Really, it's Zriya B'chlal Haisa. It should have been included in the initial introduction. Stop or work. V'loma Yatzasa. Why does the Torah single it out? Lakish Aleh. In order to compare other forms, other activities to Zriya. Lo Melech to tell you, Ma Zriya Miyuchedes. Avoida Shebesodav Shebekerem. Just like planting is something unique, it's something all-encompassing that applies to a regular field, to a vineyard, and therefore it's Asr. Likewise, all other forms of working the land is only asr. It's a universal type of activity. It applies to a sada and a kerem equally, as opposed to these activities we just mentioned, kishkush and ugiyas. Rashi explains it wasn't applied to field and vineyard, and it's not included in the asr. Pretty clear from the Brisa. All forms of work are asr, not just planting or trimming. How can you say otherwise? Midrabbanon. The answer is, it's only midrabbanon. Ukras machtabama. The pasuk that we based this price on is just an asmachta, a support, a hint, a remez. But really, essentially, it's only midrabbanon, in which case we allow watering, for instance, in makam of hefset, because it's midrabbanon. V'kishkush b'shvius mishari. Are you allowed to go ahead and do kishkush, loosen up the earth underneath your olives? V'ksiv. Pasuk says, Vashmiyas, Tishmetenu Natashta, on Shemitah. After abandon your field, don't work. Tishmetenu L'kashkesh, don't do kishkush. Natashta L'sakal, don't remove the stones from your field. Amar Ukar B'chama. Three kishkush you have. There are two forms of kishkush. One is Asr, and one is Mutter. Chad Ivruya Ilani. One type is to pierce the ground beneath that tree to allow for ventilation, for irrigation, and that's asr because that helps the tree grow, has a positive effect on the tree, and enhances its growth process, and that's asr midrabbanon. V'chad says tumipili, as opposed to the kishkush, which is just there to close up some cracks, to save the tree from dying. Avru yilan asr, the first form is asr. Tumipili shari, the second form is mutter, because it's just prevention of hefset, which, as we said, is asr, is mutter midrabbanon. Since we're dealing with a telada, this is drabanan, where you're trying to save your tree from dying, that's mutter. Itmar we learned. Hacherish b'shvius. What about plowing on Shemitah? Plowing is up there. It's one of those main avodas. It's a primary feature in the farmer's workday. It's comparable, perhaps, to planting. Hacherish b'shvius. What happens then? Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Lazar. There's machlokes between these two amirim. Chadam ar leike, chadam ein leike. One holds there is malchus, it's asr min Torah. The other one disagrees, there's no malchus. What's the point of machlokes? Later, perhaps we can suggest as follows: the Rab Abin, Omar Rabbi Yehuda Kessler. The machlokes revolves around the Rab Abin's lesson. The Omar Rab Abin, Omar Rabbi Yehuda. Kol makom shenamar klal be'asei, uprat be'leis asei. Whenever we have a klal, prat uklal. Klal is a general term, an all-encompassing term, such as over here we have Ubashana, Shviz, Shabbos, Shabbos Niyel La'aretz. The land is meant to stay idle and to rest. It's a general description of what happens, not very specific of how to go about it. That's a klal. Then we have a prat that follows. Don't plant, don't prune, details. Then we have another klal. Shabbos, Shabboson Yeloritz. A general description of what happens. It's a klal prata klal. Typically, what happens when we have a klal prata klal is, it's one of the Yud Gimel Midas, Shatar and Dresh, is one of the formulas applied to Torah Shabbat Peh, and we say that anything that's really similar to the details is included as well. That's why the Torah uses general terms as well to tell you, look, I'm giving you examples to draw from. Anything that's comparable, that's similar. In this case, similar to plowing, is similar to planting and pruning, would be included as well. For instance, an important primary type of work like plowing. Problem is, this isn't your typical klal prato klal. You know why? Because the klal is a mitzvah aseh, a positive mitzvah. Shabbos, Shabboson, Yeloritz, let it rest. The prat, on the other hand, is a leis aseh. No planting and no trimming. Then the second klal is once again back to essay. Shabbos, Shabboson, Yeloritz, let it rest. The question is, can we connect the klal to the prat to the klal when they're singing different tunes? An asay with a leis asay, do they connect or not? If they connect, then we can derive charisha as well. If not, we have to stick to the examples mentioned. Planting and trimming. So this is going to be the point of contention. This is what the machlokes between Rabbi Yechon and Belezer revolves around. Do we include charisha and the Isser Dairaisa or not? The Amar Abin Amar Belo Kol Makom Shenamar Klal Be'asei Uprat B'leis Asei. When you have the klal speaking about mitzvah asei, the prat a leis asei, such as by Shemitah, Ein Donin Oisei B'Chol Prat Klal. You can't apply the formula to this case, and therefore, as a result, we say Madam Leika less like their Babin Amar Belo. The Amoyer holds that you get malchus for plowing on Shemitah. Apparently, he does not concur with the Rabbin. So even when one is an asay, one is a leis asay, we can connect them. We say, look, anything that's comparable to planting is asay. Charisha is included. Minat Torah. The opposing shita holds there's no malchus. Islay der Babin. He holds like our Babin. In this case, by Shemitah, you can't say klal prat klal, and therefore we can't include other forms of work. Planting, yes. Pruning, yes. Harvesting, but not plowing. Lo, he says the Gemara, perhaps not. The Kuli Amit Leslie, the Rabbin, Amar B'lo. Perhaps nobody agrees with Rav Abin's halacha. Which means that even by Shemitah, when you have an asay together with a leis asay, you can bundle them together and produce other malachas as well. Manda Amar Leika Shaper. And therefore, the one that says you get malchus for plowing, that works fine. Klal Prata Klal tells you include other primary forms of work, such as plowing. Whereas the other sheet that says there's no malchus. You know why? Amalach, he responds as follows. The Torah is very particular about which activities are asar and Shemitah. We have a printout in the Torah. These 4 things. And the Torah repeats itself, as we said earlier. Michti. Let's take a look. Zmira. Trimming your vineyard. B'chlal zriya. Isn't that another form of planting? And enables growth. So why does the Torah have to spell it out? Planting and trimming. Likewise, ubitzira b'chlal ktsira. Wasn't plucking grapes another form of harvesting? Why would the Torah have to single them all out? To tell you. Only on these forms of work they're chayiv. Other secondary forms of work are not included. These are considered main forms of work. These are included in the Issa of Shemitah, nothing else, including plowing, despite the fact that it stands so prominently in the farmer's workday. Really, says the Gemara? Other malachas are not chayiv. V'loi, v'atanya. Don't we have that whole brisa, which gives us a full comprehensive list of all types of other works that are chayiv as well. That are asim in Torah. Let's go through the brisa once again from beginning to end. Sod chalei sizra. Don't plant. V'kam chalei sizma. Don't trim. Perhaps only these are asim. Ainli ela zirua v'zimra. Perhaps only planting or trimming. What about loosening the ground beneath your vines? When Farshim take out the next word. They substitutes it for v'nikush, or weeding, l'kisuach, chopping the wild grass. Tamalei masad chaloi karma chaloi, to tell you nothing is mutter. Loi kol malcha shebesadcha, loi kol malcha shebekarmacha. U'menayin shemakarisman. What about pruning your trees? V'mizarden. Removing excess branches off your trees. V'mefaskin, supporting a leaning tree. Once again, sad chaloi, karma chaloi, kol malacha shebesad chaloi, kol malacha shebekarma chaloi. Menayin shemizablan, fertilizing. V'mefarkin, you can't remove rocks off the roots. V'meashtan, smoking the tree. Bilan, tamalei masad chaloi, karma chaloi. Once again, kol malacha shebesad chaloi. Don't involve yourself in any malacha in your sad ashmita. V'kol malacha shebekarma chaloi. Don't do any malacha in your karma ashmita. It's pretty clear that many other forms of work are usher as well. What about the following list? What about loosening beneath the olives? Some Farshim take out the next few words. Filling up the cracks with water. Digging around doing that irrigation ditch around beneath the vine. Sizra. In fact, the Torah singles out planting. Why? Wasn't planting included in the introduction? Shabbos ni'alaretz. Why would the Torah single it out? To connect all forms of work to planting. Let me tell you as follows. Just as planting is something unique, it's universal, applies to a field, to a vineyard, and therefore it's also afkol. Likewise, all other activities that have the same characteristic, that is something done all over, would be asur as well. In any case, it's clear that other teiladas are asur, so why isn't plowing included? Same teretz as before, midrabanan. The Bryce is merely alluding to an issa drabanan, across machta ba'alman, using the pasuk as a support, but really, min Torah, all these things are not asur, including plowing as well. K'asur Rav Dimi. When Rav Dimi arrived from Eretz Yisrael, Omar, he says, look, I heard in Eretz Yisrael, I heard the following quote in Eretz Yisrael. Yachal yilke al tesefes. Perhaps Malchus applies to extension, pretty cryptic, to tesefes, whatever that means. V'nasav la talmud l'ptura. And they brought a raya to exempt tesefes from Malchus. Lo yidana my talmud my tesefes. I have no idea what this drush is and what tesefes they were referring to. Okay, so what exactly is going on? Rabbi Lezer Amar, he says, I'll explain to you what they meant in Eretz Yisrael. They meant charisha. When they said Tesefes gets Malchus, they meant something which is added to the words of the Torah. How do we know charisha is asur? Klal prat klal. So we add that to the actual literal words of the Torah. That's why it's called Tesefes. Perhaps you get Malchus on plowing. Can you get Malchus for plowing? Plowing which is added to the words of Torah. It's derived from that klal prat klal formula. That was the Havamina. And the answer is no. And the Gemara and the Chachamim responded, no. We have a raya that it's pater. What's the raya? Imkain. Because otherwise, kol hani prati lamli. Why would the Torah have to single out all those details? Such as planting, trimming. So in effect, the Torah is telling you anything else is exempted. So this was Rabbi Lezer's approach to explain Rav Dimi's quote. Perhaps plowing is included? No, it's not included. Rabbi Yehuda Amar, he says, I'll tell you a different pshat. You know what Tesefes means? The extension of Shvius. Yomim she'yisifu chachamim l'fnei Rosh Hashanah. You know there's something called Tesefes Shvius. You have to start observing Shemitah before the actual 7th year arrives. Yomim she'yisifu chachamim l'fnei Rosh Hashanah. Days that were added to the Shemitah observance prior to Rosh Hashanah Shemitah. And this is what they meant to say. Yochel Yilka Tesefes Rosh Hashanah. Perhaps one gets Malchus for doing work during those days. the asa mibecharish umbekatza tishbais. More soon we'll learn the concept of Teseva Shemitah from that pasuk. So perhaps Malchus applies for doing malacha during that time. For Nosav Lak Talmud Ptura, and the Gemara responds, no, certainly a pot. Kadabi'inan limem lekaman, as the Gemara later will explain. Now Taisa asks Akasha, why would I even think that Malchus applies for Teseva Shvius? At most, it's a mitzvah asay, b'charish, b'katza tishbais, which the Gemara will apply to Teseva Shvius. So refrain. It's a mitzvah asay. Transgressing a mitzvah asay doesn't result in Malchus. So what's the Hava Amina? So Taisa says interesting teretz. The Hava Amina would be that Shemitah begins early. And all the halachas of Shemitah apply to Teseva Shvius as well. Just like on Shemitah there's Malchus because there's a lav. Tesefes is included, so to speak, in the Zman of Shemitah. Shemitah begins early, and therefore there would be Malchus on the extension as well, and the spillover into the 6th year. And the Maskana is, no, you're potter, as the Gemara will explain later. Okay, once we're on the topic of Tesefes, let's elaborate on it. Ma Yomim Shelifnei Rosh Hashanah. What do we mean the days before Rosh Hashanah? Because it's not, I'm going to the Mishnah. This is the first Mishnah in Masechah Shvius. Ad Mosai Chorshen B'Sodei Ilan Erev Shvius. Until what point in the 6th year can you still plow in your orchard, in your Sodei Ilan? B'Shama Imim Kozman Sheyofel Apri. Answer is, as long as your work will enhance this year's crop, the pairs of this year will benefit from your work. So it's pretty much, Rashi says, close to Shavuos time. But past that, you can't work the field, you can't plow, because you're sort of preparing for Shemitah. Until Shavuos. The truth is they're very close to each other. Ekroivin divrei elu, lios divrei elu, Veshamai and Mesil's deadline pretty much close by. So that's regarding a Sadeh Ilan. What about a grain field? Vadmosai Chorshen Sadeh Halav and Erev Shvius. Until a point when you plow in a white field, in a grain field. Mishaticha Alecha. Until the moisture dissipates. Because as long as people are still involved in planting their mikshoyos, their squash, midlois, their gourds, which is an indication of some sort that there is still moisture in the ground, and therefore the charisha taking place at that point is facilitating growth for this year's crop. So it's not considered working for Shemitah. Reb Shimon Omer, you can't work with that formula. It's not something set and standardized. You're giving a shir l'chol. Everybody can decide. Well, I'm still planting my gourds, and this guy will say, well, I'm still planting. So every person has his own shir. It's not going to work. We have to set a standard deadline. Ella, rather, b'sad alav al Pesach, a grain field you plow until Pesach. B'sad ilan al atzeres, by a fruit tree field, you do it till Shavuos. Okay, so that's the maskana here. Sad alav until Pesach, sad ilan until Shavuos, and past that is considered, for all practical purposes, Shemitah. This is Tesefes Shemitah. You start early. V'amar b'Shimon Pazi, Amar b'Shimon Levi, Mishum Kapara. Here comes a chiddush. Initially, we had Tesefes Shvius, starting at that point of Pesach and Shavuos. Rabban Gamliel ubeis dinai nimnu. Gamliel and his bezdin took count. They overrode this halacha. They took count and they concluded al shnei prakim alolu ubitlam. They decided to nullify, to cancel these two deadlines, these two zmanim. You can plant until Rosh Hashanah. There's no more Tesefes Shvius. Asks the Gemara, how could they do that? Amalei Reb Zera Rebavo. He asked Rebavo. Amalei Samson, a different version. It was Rish Lakish who asked Rabbi Yehuda. How could a later bezin undo a takana established by a previous bezin? We had Beshami Besilol. How can they come along and nullify that? Ram Gamliel Bezdina Hechi Matzu Mavatle Takanta de Beshami Besilol. How could a later bezin like Ram Gamliel be Mavatle this great takana of Tesefes Shriyas established by the earlier generations. But tonight we learned in the Mishnah, you can't do that. Ein bezin yochel levatel divrei bezin chaveroi. A later bezin can't nullify a takana of a previous bezin. Elam kein gadol menu b'chachma bin minyan, unless he can match up to him and surpass him in greatness and chachma and wisdom and in the number of the talmidim and dayanim. That's certainly not going to happen. Regarding Sham and Hillel, how can they do that? Mimavatel takana of Tesefes Shriyas. Ishtemim k'shor chada. Rabbi Yehuda was stumped, bewildered, speechless. He didn't have an answer. Amalei, he responded and says, you know what? This is what I'm thinking. Amor, we can say, Kach hisnu b'neim. Originally, initially, the takana went as follows. They said, Kol ha'roitze levatel yavo vivatel. We're making a takana. Stop plowing now. It looks like you're preparing for Shemitah. Tesefes Shriyas starts at Pesach or Shavuos, depending on what type of field. But they said, Kol ha'roitze levatel yavo vivatel. We know that down the line, future generations, they might want to be mevatel for whatever reason. Tosfos explains. They were choshesh hefsed rabim. Economy would be tough and farming would be difficult. And you know what? Depends on the circumstance. We're not going to compel everybody, safe kol aduris, to follow this directive. If a future bezin decides that it's too difficult to keep, it's not practical, they can be mevatel. So Rav Gamliel is not contravening Beisham Bisil. It was a built-in clause. It was programmed into the takana initially. If a future bezin sees it needs to move out, they can do it. 1 second, says the Gemara. Did Huhi? Was it really their takana? So you're working with the premise that Beisham Bisil made the takana of Tesefes Shriyas. It's not their initiation. Halacha Moshe Sinai. We learned it from halacha. Damar Basi, or Rabbi Yehuda, B'shum Nechunya Ish Bikas Beis Charson. We have 3 halacha Sinais, which were actually learned together in the Beis Medrash at the same time. Eser Netiyos. So although you're meant to extend Shemitah into the 6th year, to stop working your field before Shemitah arrives, but if you have young fruit trees, young and delicate, you can work them. You can be chayrish around them until Rosh Hashanah. Eser Netiyos, Arava, the concept of positioning the Aravis around the Mizbeach on Sukkos, in the Beis HaMikdash. V'nisach hamayim, pouring water on the Mizbeach on Sukkos in the Mikdash. Halacha Moshe Sinai. These 3 things, halacha Moshe Sinai. The fact that we need a heter of Eser Netiyos, what does that tell you? Isn't that a clear indication that there is something called Tesefes Shriyas? We're matir Netiyos. But apparently Tesefes Shriyas is not something invented by Beisham Bisil. So how could Rav Gamliel come and nullify that? Rabbi Yitzchak, here comes the first of it. Rabbi Yitzchak says, look, there are 2 parts, 2 phases to Tesefes Shriyas. Halacha Moshe Sinai, that takes you until 30 days before Rosh Hashanah. Then we have the takana, which extended it past 30 days, up until Shavuos, up until Pesach. Ki Gmiri Hilchasa Shloishim Yom Lifnei Rosh Hashanah. The halacha only applies to the last 30 days of the 6th year. 30 days before Rosh Hashanah, you stop working. No, nobody tinkered with that. V'asuhani. But then the Chachamim came, Beisham Bisil, and they added more. Tikun mi Pesach Matzeres. Stop working. Starting from Pesach by the grain field, Shavuos by the Sadeh Ilan, and the Asnu b'dedu, and they inserted a clause in their takon. If there's a need to be mevatel, go ahead and do it. So it turns out, according to this teretz of Rabbi Yitzchak, you're right. Rabbi Gamliel and his bezin only came along to be mevatel the additional Tesefes Shemitah. They didn't touch the last 30 days of the 6th year. That 30 days is Halacha Moshe Sinai. It's the added, the extra Tesefes Shemitah. Takes you back to Shavuos, to Pesach, that they were mevatel. Asks the Gemara, V'hani hilchas aninu? These things are halacha Moshe Sinai, meaning Tesefes Shemitah is halacha Moshe Sinai. V'akraininu. Actually, we learn it from Sukkah. The Sanya, B'charash u'b'katzah tishbos. Don't work on Shabbos. Refrain from plowing and harvesting. Now, why would the Torah single out these two malachas? Many malachas are asur on Shabbos. Apparently there's a hidden meaning, there's a drush. Rabbi Kiva, you know what it's referring to? Not the seventh day, the seventh year, Shemitah. Telling you as follows: Ein tzarech leima chorish v'katzah shel shvius. But we already know that planting and harvesting on Shemitah is asur. Shekfar Nama, we have that pasuk that we started with today. Sot chalei sizma, kam chalei sizma. Ella, rather, the pasuk is adding chorish shel erev shvius, shenichnas shvius. Refrain from plowing on sixth year, on erev Shemitah, if it benefits, if it's close enough to Rosh Hashanah and it benefits the next year's crop. That's also asur. That's a sefer Shemitah. The katzah shel shvius sheyatz l'mitzvah shvius, likewise, something which grew on Shemitah but was harvested on Matzah Shemitah on the 8th year also has Kedusha Shemitah. So it's a pasuk that we apply Shemitah to the Tisefes portion as well. That's Rabbi Kiva's approach. Rabbi Shmuel, no. Let's take it back to Shabbos. This pasuk is discussing Shabbos and only Shabbos. Why then does the pasuk single out plowing and planting? To tell you a heter that you can actually do some cutting on Shabbos as well in certain cases. For instance, for the mincha so'ema. Pasuk says, "B'charash u'b'katzah tishbos." In effect, binding together, connecting, plowing to harvesting. To tell you, ma charash rishus. Just as plowing, that is discussed in the pasuk, is evidently a non-mitzvah activity. We never find anywhere a mitzvah to plow. So the word charash, by definition, refers to a voluntary act. Af katzah rishus, likewise. B'charash u'b'katzah, the harvesting that's being discussed, is a non-mitzvah activity, and that's asur on Shabbos, as opposed to a mitzvah harvesting. Yatzak tzira omer shi mitzvah, as opposed to cutting for the omer, which is mutter because it's a mitzvah. You can do it even on Shabbos. Bottom line is, according to Rabbi Kiva, how do we know Tisefes Shvius? From a pasuk. We don't need halacha. Ella Amar Rachmar Yitzchak. You're right. The pasuk tells you about Tisefes Shvius. Why then do we need a halacha of Eser Natiyah? You allow to plow around the young fruit trees, which indicates that otherwise it would be asur. Ki Gemiri Hilchas Lemishra Yalda. The pasuk is merely coming to exempt the young fruit trees from this Isser, from this din of Tisefes Shvius. It's an allowance, it's a heter. Kroi Lemesa, Zakena. The pasuk, sure, coming to tell you that you're not allowed to plow around the mature fruit tree on Erev Shemitah. So the pasuk is telling you Tisefes Shvius. Now Allah is just trying to exempt, to imater a yalda, an atiyah, because they're delicate. What do you mean? The kiva the hilchas al mishra yalda. If we have halacha mishra Sinai, look, Allah is telling you you're allowed to take care of. You'll have tend to your delicate young fruit trees at the last section of the 6th year, leading into Shemitah. Isn't that the biggest indicator that otherwise you wouldn't be allowed to tend your fields, work your fields? Isn't that the biggest support? Isn't that the biggest source for Tisefes Shemitah? Why do I have to allow something if it's not us to begin with? The given the Hilchos Mishra Yalda, once the pasuk, the halacha is telling you you're allowed to tend to your delicate fruit trees, your young fruit trees. Lava Mela Zakena Asira. Wouldn't I figure out on my own that otherwise it's asur? Tending to a mature tree is asur. So once I have the halacha Mishra Sinai telling you about the Tisefes Shvius, why do I need a pasuk? Ella, rather Hilchos Rabbi Shmuel. Kroi Rabbi Kiva, you're right. According to Rabbi Kiva, it's a pasuk. According to Bishmuel, the pasuk wasn't coming to tell you Tisefes Shemitah. It's coming to allow Tzira Sa'imar on Shabbos. According to him, we need the halacha Mishra Sinai. Bottom line is, according to this approach in the Gemara, how did Rav Gamliel and his Bezdin nullify Tisefes Shemitah? Answer is, there were two parts. 30 days before Rosh Hashanah is asur min haTorah, whether based on a pasuk or based on halacha Mishra Sinai. The other Tanoim, B'Shamai, still added to that. They extended back till Shavuos or till Pesach. But they inserted a clause. Look, if it gets too difficult, you can be Mavatal. And indeed, Rabbi Gamliel was Mavatal that second phase of the Sefer Shvius. But they left the first phase intact. Here comes terrace number 2. Rabbi Yehuda Amar, no. Rabbi Gamliel Ubeis Din Midoiraisa Batalu. Right on. They were about the entire thing. You can work until Shemitah. Why? They found a source. They based it on the Torah. Rashi says, they found a raya from the Torah that we don't do Tisef Shvius. My time and why? Gomar Shabbos Mishabbos Bereshis. They connected Shemitah to the ordinary Shabbos. It's called Shabbos Bereshis, which was introduced way back by Brias Olam. So over here we have the Lashon Shabbosan, and by Shabbos Bereshis we have the word Shabbos. Malahalan hi Asura. We connect, just like over there. Shabbos itself is Asur b'Malacha, but that's it. L'faneo, l'achre mutar, and before and after is mutar. Friday is mutar, Motzei Shabbos is mutar. Even though Tosfos says, there's a Gemara in Yuma which says you have to add to Shabbos as well, Tosefes Shabbos, but that's only a drop, a kol shul. That's not what we're speaking about. Even Rabbi Gamliel agrees you have to stop a drop before Shemitah, but he was speaking about adding a month, half a year. That doesn't apply. Just like by Shabbos, l'faneo, l'achre mutar, and before and after Shabbos, it's mutar. Afkan, likewise by Shemitah. Hi asura, l'faneo, l'achre mutar. Only the actual 7th year is asur b'malacha, but doesn't extend to before or after. Maskav Rav Ashi. How could Rabbi Gamliel toss out the entire concept of Tisef Shvius? It's sourced in Halacha Mishmir Sinai. It's sourced in a pasuk. Ma'anda Amar Hilchasa, the one that says that Tisef is sourced in Halacha Mishmir Sinai. Asa Gzeir Shava Akar Hilchasa. How can they bring Gzeir Shava to uproot the Halacha? Maybe the Gzeir Shava has come to tell you something else. It was an accepted fact. It was an accepted interpretation. Halacha Mishmir Sinai that went to extend Shemitah sideways. How can they uproot that? Umadam al-Kra, likewise according to the Shita, that is not from a pasuk, such as Ramah Kiva, how could the Shava uproot that? Elam Rav Ashi, I'll tell you pshat. Rabbi Gamliel Beis Dina is Savel Kabishmo. You know where Rabbi Gamliel was coming from? He followed Rabbi Shmuel's approach. Da'ama Hilchas HaGemirla. Tisef Shvius is learned from Halacha Mishmir Sinai. But you remember, we had 3 items bundled together. Tisef Shvius, Arava in the Beis HaMikdash, and Nisach HaMayim in the Beis HaMikdash. And according to Rabbi Gamliel, they were bundled together for a reason. They're similar in nature. We compare them one to another. That halacha was only learned Bizman Shebeis HaMikdash Kaim Dumya de Nisach HaMayim. The fact that we bundle them together is meant to tell you they only apply when they all apply. It's either all or nothing. And just as Nisach HaMayim, and likewise you can say Arava, is only when there's a Mikdash. Tisef Shvius is only at that point as well. But after the Churban, the whole thing is bought. Rabbi Gamliel and his Bezdin were after the Churban, right? And that's why they were battled. So in conclusion, we have 2 pshatim in Rabbi Gamliel. According to pshat number 1, there were 2 parts to Tisef Shvius. 30 days before Rosh Hashanah, that's Asar Min HaTorah. Halacha Mishmir Sinai, pasuk. There was an extension added to that. Till Shavuos, till Pesach, they nullified that. How? They're not greater than Bisham Misil. The answer is Bisham Misil themselves anticipated this type of development. And they pre-programmed their takana with this clause. If you see a need, it's going to be hefsed rab, times are going to be tough. Go ahead and be mevatel. Pshat number 2, which is Rabbi Yehuda, no. It's Halacha Mishmir Sinai, but only Bizman Beis HaMikdash. Okay, so what did we learn today? We started with the kasha. Watering the field on Shemitah, how's that mutter? So one teretz we gave yesterday was Bizman Hazeh, it's only Rabbanon. Rabbanon will matter, but Makam Hefsid. Second teretz is watering is only Teilada, and Teilada is only with the Rabbanon. In our Torah we have Zriya, which spills over into Zmira, the trimming as well. We have Ketzira, which spills over into Betzira as well. Regarding Chirish, we have Machlokes in the Gemara. So Dimi came with a quote from Eretz Yisrael. You're not like anti-Sefes. What does Tesefes mean? Pshat number 1. Charisha, which is added to the items in the pasuk. No, there's no malchus on that. Pshat number 2. Tesefes Shvius, the extension of Shvius. You like it? No. Fact is, at the end of the day, they were Mavatal. The whole din of Tesefes Shvius. Right? Rabbi Yehuda, who was the one that held Lamaisa, that the whole thing is bottled. Because it's based on the Halacha Mishmar, which only applies to Bisman Beis HaMikdash. Bisman is that there is no Tesefes Shvius whatsoever. What is Tesefes Shvius? So there were 2 parts of Tesefes Shvius. 30 days before Rosh Hashanah is Asa Minat Torah, either by way of Halacha Mishmar Sinai, or by way of that pasuk B'Chodesh B'Katzah Tishbeis, which indicates that there's an extension to Shemitah as well. With the Rabban, more time was added. You could only work a Sadi Ilan until Atzeres, a Sadi Lavan until Pesach. This was the Shita B'Shami B'Silal, as explained, as concluded by Reb Shimon there. Bisman Hazeh, everything is mutter. Why? How could Rav Gamliel and his Bezdin be mavatal the whole concept of Seves Shvius? We have 2 approaches. According to Rabbi Yitzchak, you're right. The portion that was learned in Torah, 30 days before Rosh Hashanah, that's us, or even nowadays. They were mavatal the extended period. According to Rabbi Yechanan, no. Even 30 days before Rosh Hashanah, they were mavatal. Because Halacha Mishmar Sinai is only applicable. Bizman Shebeis HaMikdash Kain. All the best to you, and Hatzlacha Rabbah.